Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Kaylee Salazar, and on this channel we talk about multi-level marketing. In my last two videos, I talked about my experiences being a consultant and also a consumer of multi-level marketing companies. Today, we are going to share a few of your stories. As always, if you would like to share your story, I would love to hear from you. The directions are in the description box below. All you have to do is send me an email and it's listed down there. So we're just gonna jump right into it. Okay, here's story number one. Here's how it went down. Out of the blue, I got a message from an old friend saying that he and his wife were in town and would love to catch up. That's how it always starts. We hadn't seen each other in years, and I thought, why not? My wife and I love hosting, and we figured it would be fun to have them over, share a good meal, and cap off the night with the fun finale of our favorite show. We spent all afternoon getting ready, cooked up a nice dinner, got the place looking nice, and set the scene for a great evening. When they arrived, it was honestly really nice to see them. We had some drinks, caught up on life, swapped stories. It was just like old times. I was actually feeling a little nostalgic, thinking, man, it's good to reconnect with friends like this. Dinner was great, and everyone was laughing, and it just felt like one of those rare perfect nights. Then, as we were winding down, my friend got this serious look on his face and started saying how he and his wife were working on this new business opportunity. He went on about how it's helped them in all these amazing ways, and he wanted to share it with us. I think I could feel my stomach drop the second I realized where this was going. Sure enough, he started pulling out brochures, and before I knew it, I was getting a full pitch to Amway. It was such a strange moment. One minute, we're reminiscing about old college memories, and the next, I'm listening to my friend try to recruit me into a multi-level marketing scheme. I just kind of smiled and nodded my way through it, all the while kicking myself for not seeing this coming. After they left, my wife and I just sat there a little stunned. We had planned this cozy night to reconnect with old friends, and it ended up feeling more like we were trapped inside a sales meeting. Because you were. Honestly, it was so disappointing. I was hoping we could just pick up where we left off, but instead it felt like it was an agenda all along. If I learned anything from that night, it's that sometimes catching up comes with a hidden cost. It's true. You were caught and trapped in a sales meeting. That is so uncomfortable. Why do people do this? Guys, okay, actually, I know exactly why people do this. Because I've been in that situation before. In one of my first videos, I think that I told you guys that I sold lip scents for a while, which is actually Senegence. And I was desperate. You just are absolutely desperate to make any sales that you will do things that you would not normally do. Looking back at the things that I did, it's so super cringy. But you're almost blinded to the awkwardness and the uncomfortable things, and you just do things that, like I said, that you wouldn't otherwise do. I remember having people over for a favorite things party and then subtly putting over in the corner, lip scents as my favorite thing. I didn't hand it out. I didn't bring anybody over to it. I didn't really bring attention to it, but I did put it there in hopes that somebody would notice it and talk to me about it. Now, would I normally do that? No. I'm not that type of person. I am super gutless, really. I hate selling things to people. I felt like it was kind of scammy and kind of a little bit of a trap. Like, ooh, I'm going to have a favorite things party with a little bit in the back of my mind thinking, oh, and I can put these products out and maybe, just maybe, somebody will notice them and I can make a sale. So I get it. I understand why people do the things that they do, and it's super uncomfortable. It just makes me sad that the first group of people that you target is generally friends and family because that's who you know. But honestly, that is the most uncomfortable group to sell to. It's like impossible to sell and to approach it without feeling like you're just using their friendship to make a sale. And that's honestly how it is. But the unfortunate truth is that when we're approached in situations like this, an old friend wanting to just come and catch up, fairly often they're just trying to sell you something. And it is so sad that we have to think that way. But the reality is that cold calling and knocking on doors and like a super old-fashioned way of approaching sales is really just not very effective anymore. So the most effective is by approaching friends and family, generally because they'll actually let you in the door, and they might feel a little bit bad for you and feel a little bit guilted, and therefore purchase your product, just to end the conversation. Okay, story number 2 is from someone that I went to church with growing up. He said, so here's what happened. I'd been counseling this woman in our church for a while, helping her get back on her feet, find work, set some life goals. She was going through a tough time, but she had such a strong will to turn things around. So I'd been working with her closely. We'd been making real progress too, and I was genuinely proud of her. Sorry that I'm blinking like crazy. I have terrible dry eyes. Anyway. Then one day she called me up saying she's found this job opportunity and could really use my advice. I was so thrilled just hearing that she found something that sounded promising. So I dropped what I was doing, thinking this was a big step forward to her, and went right over. I actually talked to this person about this situation, and they had to drive about an hour. They were busy, they had young kids at home, but he felt like it was his responsibility to check on her and make sure that everything was okay. So this was a huge sacrifice for him to drop everything that he was doing and drive over an hour to go check on her. When I got there, she welcomed me in with a smile, and we started talking about this opportunity. But as she went on, I began to realize that this wasn't a regular job. Instead, it was another one of those business opportunities where you buy into a system, start recruiting others, and supposedly make big money. It's a trap. I feel like I say that a lot. It's a trap, because it's a trap. She started talking about being your own boss, financial freedom, all the usual lingo. Then before I knew it, she was handing me a pamphlet and trying to convince me to get involved too. I was floored. Here, I thought I was coming to help her make a career decision, and instead I was getting pitched on some scheme. And the worst part, it seemed like she genuinely believed in it. She bought into the whole promise, hook, line, and sinker. I didn't have the heart to tell her right then how I really felt. I just nodded, took the pamphlet, and left feeling disappointed. It wasn't about the pitch. It was seeing someone I'd been working so hard to support end up falling into a trap like this. Okay, this is another scenario of consultants finding those that are in really poor situations and preying on that and taking advantage of them. Because someone who is super successful, loves their job, is thriving in their life, generally isn't going to join an MLM unless they love the product and join just to get a discount on the products. But they're probably not going to join for the business opportunity because they just don't need it. But who's the perfect target? Someone who doesn't have a job, doesn't really know what they're doing with their life. They are in need of friends. They're in need of a purpose. That's the perfect target. And unfortunately, these people will join and generally find no success whatsoever. So they're already in this hard situation trying to figure out their lives. And then they join this MLM, and then they lose money or lose friends or alienate themselves or all of the above, and they end up in a worse situation than they were before they even joined. It is just so predatory, and I can't handle it. Also, I really, in this situation, I don't think that this girl would have done that on her own. I really think that she was thinking this was a really good situation, a good job opportunity, and thought, I know that I can ask this person because I trust him to tell me. I think that the person who was trying to recruit her was more so the one that was telling her, just who can you reach out to? Who can you ask? So I don't know that it was the girl per se. It was probably the actual consultant of, they didn't say actually which company it was, but regardless, they're all the same, so it doesn't really matter. But again, another situation of doing something that you wouldn't normally do out of desperation. Okay, let's jump right into story number 3. Hi, Kaylee. I don't have a ton of stories, but you're welcome to use what little input I have. I'd just love to remain anonymous if at all possible. Yes, you will always be anonymous unless you say that you don't care or you would like me to share your name. I will always err on the side of caution and not share your name. Also, I just had a hysterectomy and I'm writing this on medication, so forgive me if it doesn't all make sense or line up perfectly. Never apologize. I really just appreciate your stories and for you sending it in to me. When we were first married, I tried to sell that crazy wrap thing with It Works. I was dirt poor and only started trying to sell because my boss at the time was selling it and invited me to a party. I felt obligated to attend since she was my boss. I remember sitting at the house the party was hosted at and knowing I wouldn't be able to afford anything there that night. I tried explaining that I couldn't afford it and needed to just go home. Before I knew it, I was wrapped up in this wrap around my belly and sitting there listening to a sales pitch, anxious about how on earth I was going to come up with the $30 to pay for the wrap that they put on my body before I could even go home. That is not okay. That is not okay. Trapping them into this, I mean, they wrapped her up in this wrap, took it out of the package and put it around her. So naturally she's going to have to pay. That is so not okay. No, just no. Essentially, I was held hostage by a stupid wrap. Yeah, held hostage. That is so dirty. It was all part of their scheme. Yes, it was. If I signed up to join their team, my wrap was free that night. So that's exactly what I did. Guys, why does this happen? I will tell you why it happens because, again, these consultants are desperate. So they think, ooh, if I can just trap them into this product, then I can convince them, oh, but you could get it free if you wanted, or you can just pay the $30. But if you just sign up with me, it's yours and you don't have to worry about paying for it. Somebody in this situation who doesn't have $30 to spend, how uncomfortable is that? It's like, I don't have $30, so my only way out of here is to sign up because I can't pay for it. I now had to pay my $99 startup fee in sales in the next 30 days, or I would have to pay it out of pocket. So it's either you pay $30 for the wrap or you pay potentially $99 if you can't sell however many wraps. And that's such a scam. I hate all of these weight loss, this will make you look thinner scams. It's just so dirty. And like preying on women's insecurities, like, no, not okay. Now I had to pay my $99 startup fee in sales in the next 30 days, or I would have to pay it out of pocket in addition to that first wrap I ever did. That, for the record, didn't work. I never had anyone beneath me and I never ordered anything for myself. I simply could not afford it. But I did make a few sales to a few people that I had interacted with. I barely broke even and I worked my butt off to get there. Barely broke even. All right, speaking of the crazy wrap thing, I remember when I worked in a salon, I had a customer come, or I had a client come. She was a regular client. She would go on and on and on about the crazy wrap thing, and it works. And she tried endlessly to get me to sign up, and she would tell me how because of that she was able to buy her kid, I think she only had one, her child's Christmas gifts, and how I was just crazy for not signing up. Like, it's just such an easy way to make money. Like, why wouldn't you just join me? Her sales pitch was not very good because clearly I am a sucker for signing up for multi-level marketing companies, and I did not give in to this one. But it's all they talk about. It's like being a multi-level marketing consultant is their identity. They make everything about that. Hate it. I also remember the nightly messages from my upper who wanted me to check in with her every night, asking me how many messages did I send that day. Or if I didn't make a post on Facebook that day about the business, she would message me and let me know how much you put into this business is how much you get out of it. And once again, that is a huge lie. They will tell you over and over again, the amount of work that you do will be what you get out of it in return. Exactly like she said, how much you put into this business is how much you get out of it. It's not true. You can work endless hours. You can work day and night. You can send hundreds and hundreds of messages and get absolutely nothing. The only thing that you've done is advertised for the company for free. So no, that is a big lie. On the flip side, about 10 years into marriage, I got a message from a girl I went to high school with, messaging me a very generic message, asking me to try this new product or whatever it was. I remember flat out telling her, sorry, you never spoke to me in high school and haven't talked to me in 10 years. Why would you suddenly reach out and want to meet up for lunch? What are you selling? Sure enough, I was right. Okay, first of all, I absolutely love that you said that. I'm gutless, and I generally just ignore messages if I get them. I actually don't really get any anymore, which is kind of surprising. I went through a few years where it seemed like everybody that I knew was joining an MLM, including myself. And it was just all over the place. I saw post after post after post and got message after message about a different multi-level marketing company. But I haven't in several years. I unfollowed a lot of people. That might be why. And then I think a lot of the people who were in them realized what a scam it is too. And so they're not doing them anymore. Anyway, thank heavens, because that's the worst. It's so uncomfortable. Okay, we have one last story. So let's get into it. All right, this story just jumps right in. Money was always tight for us. With 5 kids and 1 income, there were months where we were just scraping by. One day, this guy shows up at our door out of nowhere, wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase. This must have been a while ago. I feel like this doesn't happen as much anymore. People are changing the way that they sell. Most of it is on social media now. So not saying that you won't get knocks on the door. I know it still happens, but it is becoming more rare. Thank goodness. He tells us he's selling top of the line smoke detectors and says that they're a must have for a family like ours. He starts dropping the names of people on our street saying they'd all bought these alarms. The guy was smooth and knew exactly to hit our nerves, especially when he started talking about fire safety with kids in the house. Then he goes on, listen, I'll make you a deal. If you just hear me out, you'll get a free grill just for giving me a few minutes of your time. We didn't have a grill, and the thought of one really got my attention. I thought, sure, what's the harm in listening? So much harm in listening. Don't do it. Just turn them away. Just don't even let them in the door. It's not worth it. You'll end up spending $3,500 on a vacuum. But then the pitch starts and it's intense. He starts throwing around phrases like, what would you do if a fire happened tonight? And imagine not getting out in time. He kept looking at our kids, talking about how these alarms could save their lives. The guilting. Don't. Then he drops the price on us. Way, way more than we had ever planned to spend on smoke detectors. But by then, he's made us feel like if we didn't buy them, we'd basically be risking our lives. I'll admit, we were scared and just wanted to do the right thing. Yeah, this was undoubtedly years ago, because now fire alarms are like, I wouldn't really say a dime a dozen, but they're not expensive anymore. And they're in every house. Okay, so we caved. We bought the alarms, even though it meant taking out a small loan to cover the cost. And sure, they worked like any other alarm, but they weren't anything special. Then there was the free grill. When we opened the box, it was this cheap, flimsy thing that looked like it would fall apart if you even looked at it the wrong way. We felt so duped. I think the worst part wasn't even the money. It was the feeling of being tricked into thinking that we weren't protecting our kids enough. Exactly. They're preying on your insecurities. That's what they do. So obviously he saw that, oh, you have kids. Who wouldn't do just about anything to protect their kids? That's the way I'm going to get them to buy this. We were so embarrassed that we didn't tell anyone. To this day, those alarms are a reminder of how we got taken for a ride, all because some guy showed up at our door and knew exactly what buttons to push. That makes me really, really mad. I've done so much research and listened to so many videos and stories just like these that I've realized there are 2 kinds of people, 2 kinds of MLM consultants. They're the kind that are super scammy and they know exactly what they're doing. They're predatory. They're just cruel, and they will search out any insecurities and totally target you for that. There are also the other side who they're just looking for an opportunity to make a little bit of money, to help make ends meet, to support their family a little bit, looking for a friendship, looking for an identity, just looking for something for themselves. And they often don't really realize that they're being scammy or that they're doing anything wrong. They're just trying to sell a product and just doing what they're told from their upline. And I have very different feelings for both categories. There are people like this that will sell the alarm and scam you out of thousands of dollars. And then there are the others who aren't super predatory. My goal in all of this is not to make people feel bad because they are part of an MLM. In fact, most people who are part of MLMs are not even going to be watching my videos. My purpose in sharing these videos is to try to get people who are on the fence about MLMs to see how predatory they are and how problematic they are and how people lose so much money and they burn bridges and they ruin friendships. And it's not worth it. And I also just want people to be prepared and know what to do if somebody does knock on their door. The last thing I want is for other people to be in this same situation of being approached with a way overpriced vacuum or way overpriced fire alarms and feeling the need to let them through your door. You can say no, and you can just say that. No is enough. I just don't want more people to be getting scammed. I just want to shed some more light on these situations. There are so many people out there who are sharing stories exactly like this one. Go out and listen, and especially if you're on the fence about joining an MLM, just do your research and don't jump into anything and don't let people trick you and prey on your insecurities. Anyway, with that wraps up our stories for this week. If you have a story to share, please send them in. My email is linked down below, and I look forward to hearing from you guys.